Reminiscence, 2021 sci-fi thriller directed by Lisa Joy, starring Hugh Jackman, with a budget of about $65 million, I believe. So, quick review. Very quick review. Overall, the movie's fine. It's a very soft recommendation for me. Put it towards the back half of your watch list. No hurry to see this one. It feels very much like a lesser Chris Nolan film. A very lesser Christopher Nolan film. Which the director does actually have some type of relation to this Christopher Nolan. So that should be noted definitely. Okay, so now let's dive straight in. Full spoilers ahead. We got a pretty solid cast here. Hugh Jackman, Thandie Newton, Daniel Wu, Rebecca Ferguson, and Cliff Curtis, as well as a few others. So the setting of this story is the water's rising. The water rising caused a war, and after that war, certain figures, they call them barons, certain barons took over certain amounts of land, and now there's a growing anti-baron sentiment amongst the people. The main feature of this movie as a science fiction story is that they now have the technology to enter people's memories. And it works out so certain people can, relive past experiences. There's one where they have this guy who lost his legs, and he comes in and he basically relives the memory of him playing around with his dog, right? So that's a very interesting setting for us to get into as the audience. So one thing I will say about this movie is the foreshadowing is quite heavy-handed here. When the movie opens, Nick, our main character, he finds a playing card, the Queen playing card, and he picks it up and he looks at it, walks over to another guy, and he says, "Looks like you lost your queen." Now, he probably could have just picked the card up and gave it to the guy, and us as the audience would have understood that, but again, the movie felt the need to fully explain that. The other thing the movie does is when it opens and closes, it pretty much gives mirror monologues. They pretty much mirror each other. And he says this line. It's a decent line. It's a good line. He says, "We're the ghost haunting our memories." But again, as the audience, we can pretty much just figure that out. But again, the movie feels the need to let us know that that's what the movie's going to be about. So overall, it's not the best noir film you'll ever see. It's not the best science fiction film. It's not the best thriller, not the best mystery. I think you get where I'm going with this. I will say they did fully commit to the romance, which sort of makes me wish it would have been a romance movie with other elements instead of it being sold as like this sci-fi thriller mystery film, right? Now, as far as Hugh Jackman's character, Nick, I couldn't really tell if he was effective in combat, right? Because we got to talk about the action. I'm an action scene guy. I couldn't really tell if he was that effective in combat. Because when they introduce him, they make it clear that he's a badass. That everyone else needs guns. And he just he uses a gun, but he disables the guy without using lethal force. And with that setup, it makes me think he's going to be kicking ass non-lethal throughout the entire movie, or with his hand-to-hand combat or whatever. Not the case at all. It's especially when he's 1v2. As soon as you put two guys in front of Nick, he's pretty much useless. And I keep expecting him to do some Jason Bourne type stuff, but it never comes. And it's just weird with how they set him up. Now, one thing that definitely needs to be talked about is they do the thing in the movie. In movies, we'll watch a sequence of events, and then they'll reveal that those events were just a dream, or that those events were just somebody's imagination, or there's some time traveling stuff going on. This movie does that. We go through a series of events, and we realize that Nick was just using his own machine, and the movie sort of becomes about addiction at that point a little bit. because Nick is addicted to going into the past and looking at his love, this character May. And then there's another character, his partner, Thandie Newton. They pretty much tell us she's an alcoholic. So in some ways, it's also a movie about addiction. So let's talk about the machine itself. There's a few things going on here, and I just want to discuss the rules to this machine, right? So sometimes the dreams, we witness them in first person and third person. I don't get that. Because we also see the dreams in color, and we see them in black and white. And that one can simply be explained by the technology of this world, right? Because in real life, we have black and white TVs, and now we have color TVs. And it's just weird that I don't get how that works between seeing what determines whether some vision sequences are in first person versus third person. And also, why does the government have black and white vision, and Nick, who's operating I'm not going to say successful, but the building looks like it's falling apart, right? He's operating this PI firm in the building that looks like it's falling apart, and he's able to have like 3-dimensional color, whatever. I don't know. It's just weird to me. They did set some rules, which I love rules. I love rules in fantasy and sci-fi. It helps me understand exactly what's going on here. Another one of the rules is that you can't ask any leading questions, or it might lead to brain damage in the person who you're putting under. And they explain this in the movie when another character starts asking this guy questions, but he never lived the experience, so he obviously can't access them in his memory, so his brain's going into shock and he might die or whatever. So I thought that them establishing certain rules for this was cool. So the movie, another thing in the setting is that the movie takes place in Miami, and it's very clearly Miami. The movie opens with us traveling over the city, and we're getting a view of things, and you're getting the sense that this is a futuristic dystopia Miami. However, something weird happens, which we later go to New Orleans, and we barely get to see any, so it's like, why did we go here? We could have just did this in another part of Miami, but I don't know, whatever. The whole New Orleans thing didn't really work for me, and we'll get into why specifically it didn't matter in a moment. And that's the action set pieces here. Not a big fan of the action in this movie. I thought the second action sequence was okay, because visually it was impressive, but there's two main action set pieces in this movie. The first one is a bar shootout, because in action movies you gotta have a bar shootout. And it does the thing where Thandie Newton, she's the gunslinger in this movie, and she's just like not getting hit by any bullets. Now, I'm not gonna knock the movie too hard for that, because we've seen Jason Statham in the middle of a shootout not get hit. We've seen Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the middle of a movie, in the middle of a shootout, not getting hit. So it's typical action movie fanfare, right? So we're not gonna knock this movie too much for that. It is annoying when you're trying to sell me on this dark and gritty world, but nope, I guess Thandie Newton's just bullet timing or something, I don't know. So that's the first action set piece. The gunslinging isn't even that impressive in that scene. Stuff's happening. I'm not really getting a sense of danger, but it's kind of disappointing. I'm not gonna dwell on that. Now the second action set piece works a little bit better, because it is visually more impressive. There's multiple locations. They're running on rooftops. There's hand-to-hand combat. There's hiding. There's weapon work. There's even an underwater sequence. So that action set piece works a lot better. But it's still, there's this one problem I have with it, which is that it is extremely over choreographed. The choreography on this action scene is insane. It's too much. They gotta tone it down, because again, they're taking away from the dark and gritty, realistic kind of feel that the rest of the movie was kind of giving me, right? So you have what's his name, Cliff and Hugh Jackman. One of them swinging a hammer, and the other one swinging a blade, and they're not even hitting each other. It looks like they're dancing. I watched this scene twice because it really looks like they're dancing, especially with the music playing. It looks like a stage performance. And again, the action was okay. Now we're going to talk about the love, which I think was one of the strongest elements in this movie, the love aspect, the relationship aspect. So we have Hugh Jackman and I believe Rebecca Ferguson. And they sell me on the love. I buy it. The mystery aspect of it, again, was okay, because they do use her as like Hugh Jackman, and Rebecca Ferguson's character is called May. So Nick and May, they're in love, then there's betrayal, then they find out they're in love again, and there's a scene where she comes out with this plan, and oh yeah, this is another heavy-handed moment. So you know the part at the end when May and May's talking to Cliff, and then as the audience we get that she's talking to Nick even though she's looking at Cliff. We get that. But then the movie needs to explain that, oh yeah, I'm talking to Nick right now because I love him. And I don't know, it was just heavy-handed. It was just weird. We didn't need that. So all in all, yeah, the movie's okay. It's good. I liked it. I like the setting, the atmosphere, visuals. I thought it was a good first showing for Lisa Joy. I thought it was a good first showing for her. I believe she signed a deal for more movies. And yeah, I don't know. Tell me, I want to know what you guys thought about this. So hit me in the comments section and let me know what you think about this movie. Thanks for watching.